The cargo ship Perseverance moved through the dark space like a tired worker heading home after a long day. Captain Elena Vasquez sat in her command chair, watching the stars drift past on the main screen. Her crew of 12 people worked quietly at their stations. They had just finished collecting rare minerals from an asteroid field and were ready to go home. Elena was tired, but happy. This had been a good trip. The cargo hold was full of valuable ore that would help build new colonies. In 3 more days, they would reach Earth Station 7. She could already taste the real coffee waiting for her there. The warning alarm shattered the peaceful moment. "Captain, we have 5 ships coming out of jump space," said Marcus, the sensor officer. His voice was tight with worry. "They're big. Military class," Elena sat up straight. "Show me." The screen changed to show 5 alien warships appearing like sharks in the water. They were Kareth vessels. Elena recognized the sharp angles in the dark metal hulls. The Kareth Dominion controlled this part of space through fear and violence. They called themselves peacekeepers, but everyone knew they were bullies. "They're hailing us," said Communications Officer Sarah Chen. "Put them on screen." The display showed a Kareth commander. He had gray-blue skin, 4 eyes, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. His name was Zethus, according to the translation software. He looked at Elena the way a cat looks at a mouse. "Human vessel, you are in Kareth space," Zethus said. His voice was like gravel scraping on metal. "You will stop your engines. You will open your cargo holds. You will pay the passage tax." Elena kept her face calm. "Commander Zethus, according to the Galactic Trade Agreement signed 3 years ago, this is neutral space. We have the right to free passage." Zethus made a sound that might have been laughter. "Agreements are just words, human. We have the guns. That makes this our space. You will comply or we will take what we want from your wreckage." Elena's hands tightened on the armrests of her chair. She had been in space for 15 years. She had faced pirates, equipment failures, and solar storms, but she had never backed down to a bully. She would not start now. "We will not surrender our cargo," she said quietly. "It belongs to the United Earth Mining Corporation. If you want to discuss trade agreements, contact our diplomatic—" The Perseverance shook violently. Red lights flashed across every console. The crew grabbed their stations to keep from falling. "They fired on us," Marcus shouted. Warning shot across our bow. "But the energy feedback damaged our main engine. We're losing power." Elena's mind raced. They could not fight 5 warships. The Perseverance had only basic defensive shields and no weapons. She had to think like a survivor, not a fighter. "Send an emergency beacon on all channels," she ordered. "Make sure it includes our position and situation." "Captain, they're jamming most of our communications," Sarah said. Her fingers flew across her console. "I can only get through on the military emergency channel. It's encrypted. Earth Navy might receive it, but they're weeks away. Send it anyway. Tell them package delivered and situation critical." Elena knew what those code words meant. Every merchant captain knew them. Package delivered meant a civilian ship was under attack. Situation critical meant they needed immediate help. The Navy monitored those channels constantly. But space was big and help was usually very far away. Zethus appeared on the screen again. "That was a warning, human. The next shot will tear through your engine core. You will all die slowly as your air runs out. Is your cargo worth your lives?" Elena stood up. She straightened her uniform jacket. When she spoke, her voice was ice cold. "Commander Zethus, you have made a mistake. You see one small cargo ship. You see soft humans with no claws or armor. You think we are easy prey?" She paused, looking directly at him. "But you don't know us at all. Yes, we are far from home. Yes, we are just 12 people. But we are humans, and we do not abandon our own." Zethus bared his teeth. Brave words from someone who is about to lose everything. "My warriors are boarding your ship now. Resist and die, or surrender and live. Those are your only choices." The screen went dark. Elena turned to her crew. Every face looked at her with trust and determination. These were good people. Miners, engineers, and pilots who had become family during long months in space. She would protect them with everything she had. "Listen carefully," she said. "We buy time. That's our only job now. The Navy got our message. I know they're far away, but if anyone can help us, they will come. We make these Kareth regret every second they spend on our ship. Marcus, seal all interior bulkheads. Sarah, start venting atmosphere from cargo sections. Engineering, I want every trap and surprise we can make from our equipment. We're miners. We know how to work with explosives and dangerous machinery." Her crew moved without question. They trusted her. She just hoped she could keep them alive long enough. Through the hull, Elena heard the dull clang of docking clamps. The Kareth were boarding. She picked up a heavy mining tool from the emergency locker. It was not much, but humans had survived for thousands of years by being clever and stubborn. The hunt was about to begin. But the Kareth did not yet understand that humans were both the prey and the predator. They would learn soon enough. The Kareth warriors entered the Perseverance expecting frightened prey. Commander Zethus had sent 20 of his best soldiers. They wore heavy armor and carried plasma rifles that could burn through steel. They had conquered 12 species across 40 star systems. Humans would be easy. The first warrior through the airlock stepped into darkness. The lights were off. His helmet sensors showed the corridor was empty and cold. The temperature had dropped to freezing. His breath made frost clouds inside his helmet. "Advance," the squad leader ordered. "Find the humans. Bring them to the cargo bay." The warriors moved forward in formation. They had done this 100 times before. Most species surrendered immediately. Some ran and hid. A few fought with primitive weapons. All of them lost in the end. The floor beneath them suddenly opened. 3 warriors fell through the hidden trapdoor into the cargo bay below. They hit hard metal 20 feet down. Their armor protected them from broken bones, but it did not protect them from what happened next. The cargo bay doors opened directly to space. The air rushed out in 3 seconds. The warriors tried to grab onto something, but the suction was too strong. They tumbled into the void, their screams lost in vacuum. The remaining warriors stopped. This was not normal prey behavior. "They're fighting back," one warrior said. His voice was uncertain. "They're clever," the squad leader admitted. "Watch for more traps. Move slowly." They continued down the corridor. Every door was sealed. Every light was out. The ship felt like a tomb. Then they heard something. Music. Old Earth rock music was playing from speakers somewhere ahead. It was loud and aggressive. The lyrics talked about survival and fighting back. Psychological warfare. The squad leader muttered. "They're trying to scare us, but it was working." The warriors were used to silence from their victims. Not music. Not defiance. A door ahead suddenly opened. Something rolled out into the corridor. It was a mining charge, the kind used to break apart asteroids. The warriors had 2 seconds to recognize it. The explosion filled the corridor with fire and shrapnel. 4 more warriors went down. Their armor was tough, but mining charges were designed to shatter rock. The survivors' ears rang even through their helmets. The squad leader ordered a retreat to regroup. On the bridge, Elena watched through the security cameras. Her crew had built the traps in less than 30 minutes. They used mining equipment, maintenance tools, and pure desperation. It would not stop the Kareth forever, but it was buying time. "How long until they breach the bridge?" she asked Marcus. "Maybe an hour if we're lucky." "They're being more careful now." Sarah looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm picking up something. Jump signatures. 3 of them. Big ones." Elena's heart leaped. "Distance?" "Close, very close. They'll be here in minutes." Sarah's face was pale. "Captain, those are human signatures. It's the Navy." Elena felt relief wash through her like warm water. The Navy had come. Somehow, impossibly, they had come. Send them everything. Our position, enemy strength, current status. The Kareth had made their mistake. They had attacked a human ship. Now they would learn what that meant. In the corridors, the Kareth warriors had regrouped. They had lost 7 of their 20 soldiers to traps and tricks. The humans were fighting like cornered animals. No, worse than that, they were fighting like they enjoyed it. The squad leader forced open a sealed door. Inside, he found the ship's engineer. She was old, maybe 50 years, with gray hair and grease on her face. She held a plasma cutter in her hands. It was not a weapon, but she pointed it at the warriors like it was. "Come on then," she said. Her voice was steady. "Let's see what you've got." 2 warriors raised their rifles. The engineer pressed a button on the wall. The section of corridor behind the warriors sealed off. Then she opened a valve. Coolant from the ship's systems poured in, super cold liquid that flash froze everything it touched. The warriors scrambled to escape, slipping on the icy floor. The engineer ran the other way, sealing the door behind her. She had bought another 5 minutes. All over the ship, similar scenes played out. The crew had split up and each person was defending their section. They used the ship itself as a weapon. They knew every duct, every access panel, every system. The Kareth did not. The hunters were becoming the hunted. Commander Zethus watched from his flagship. His warriors were reporting casualties. Casualties from cargo haulers, from unarmed merchants. His second officer looked at him with concern. "Commander, perhaps we should withdraw the boarding party and simply destroy the ship." Zethus's pride would not allow it. "No, my warriors can handle 12 humans. Send 10 more soldiers to assist them." But then his censor officer spoke urgently. "Commander, 3 ships just entered the sector. They're human military vessels." Zethus turned to his sensor screen. 3 human warships had appeared like ghosts. A destroyer, a frigate, and a carrier. Their weapons were charged and ready. They were positioning themselves between his fleet and the Perseverance. "How did they get here so fast?" Zethus demanded. "The nearest human military base is weeks away." His intelligence officer checked the data. "Sir, those ships were conducting training exercises 2 systems away. They must have received the distress call and jumped immediately." Zethus felt something cold settle in his stomach. The humans had sent a battle group for 1 cargo ship. For 12 people. That was not normal military doctrine. That was something else. That was a promise. The human destroyer was hailing him. Zethus accepted the transmission. A human admiral appeared on screen. He was older than the cargo captain, with gray hair and cold blue eyes. His uniform was covered in medals. His name tag said Admiral Chen. "Kareth vessels, this is Admiral Richard Chen of the United Earth Navy destroyer Retribution. You have attacked a civilian Earth vessel in neutral space. You have 60 seconds to release that ship and its crew unharmed, or we will consider this an act of war." Zethus looked at his 5 warships, then at the 3 human ships. He still had superior numbers. "Admiral, you are outnumbered. Leave now or share your people's fate." Chen's expression did not change. 50 seconds. Zethus cut the transmission. He would not be threatened by these soft mammals. He prepared his fleet for battle, confident in his superior firepower. He did not know that humans had been perfecting the art of war for 10,000 years. He was about to receive a terrible education. Admiral Chen watched the countdown reach 0. The Kareth had not responded. He had given them a chance. They had refused it. Now they would learn why humanity had dominated every predator on their homeworld. "All ships, weapons free. Target the flagship first. Disable, don't destroy. I want prisoners who can tell their people what happened here." The Retribution opened fire. Human weapons were different from what the Kareth expected. Most alien races used pure energy weapons or simple kinetic rounds. Humans used both at once. Railgun slugs wrapped in plasma sheaths that burned through shields before the solid core punched through armor. It was excessive. It was brutal. It was effective. The first salvo hit Commander Zethus's flagship on the starboard side. His shields flared bright blue and then shattered like glass. The kinetic cores tore through his armor plating. 3 of his gun emplacements exploded. Alarms screamed across his bridge. "Return fire," Zethus roared. "All ships concentrate on the destroyer." The 5 Kareth warships unleashed their plasma cannons. Brilliant green bolts of superheated gas streaked toward the Retribution. It should have been overwhelming firepower, but the human destroyer was already moving. Human ships moved wrong. They did not follow predictable combat patterns. The Retribution rolled sideways, accelerated down, then cut thrust and spun. Its maneuvering was chaotic, almost random. But it was not random. Every movement was calculated to present the smallest target while maintaining firing solutions. Most of the Kareth shots missed. The few that connected splashed against the Retribution's shields without penetrating. "How are they moving like that?" Zethus's pilot demanded. "Those G-forces should crush their crew." What the Kareth did not know was that human ships had internal gravity systems that compensated for extreme maneuvers. Human pilots trained in simulators that pushed them to the edge of consciousness. Human bodies evolved from persistence hunters, could endure punishment that would kill most species. The frigate Undaunted joined the fight. It targeted the 2 nearest Kareth ships with missile volleys. These were not simple explosives. They were smart weapons that could adjust their course mid-flight and choose their own impact points. The Kareth point defense systems tried to shoot them down. Some succeeded. But there were too many missiles coming from too many angles. Explosions bloomed across the hull of a Kareth cruiser. Its engine section took a direct hit. The ship started to drift, power failing. The carrier Indomitable stayed back, launching fighter craft. 30 small ships poured from its hangar bays like angry wasps. They were too small and fast for the Kareth's large guns to track. The fighters swarmed around the enemy ships, hitting weak points, drawing fire, creating chaos. Aboard the Perseverance, Captain Elena felt the ship shake as the battle raged outside. The Kareth warriors inside had stopped advancing. They were receiving orders to retreat back to their own ships. But Elena was not letting them go that easily. "Marcus, seal the airlocks. Don't let them leave, Captain. They'll cut through eventually." "I know. But every minute they spend here is a minute they're not helping their fleet." On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Chen coordinated his small fleet with practiced precision. He had fought in the Centauri conflict and the Proxima raids. He had lost friends and ships. He had learned lessons written in blood and steel. "Target their engines, not their bridges," he ordered. "I want them alive but helpless. And someone get me a status report on the Perseverance." "Sir, the cargo ship reports 12 crew members still alive and fighting. They've trapped the boarding party inside their own ship." Chen allowed himself a small smile. Merchant crews were tough. They had to be to survive in space. But these people had gone beyond survival. They had turned their ship into a fortress and their tools into weapons. He was proud of them. A Kareth ship tried to run. It broke formation and accelerated toward the jump point. The Undaunted pursued without waiting for orders. One of Chen's best captains commanded that frigate. She would not let them escape. The frigate's main gun spoke once. A single railgun round, traveling at 30% of light speed, struck the fleeing Kareth ship's engine. The impact was catastrophic. The engine core breached. The ship went dark, drifting in space. 3 enemy ships disabled, 2 still fighting. The tactical officer reported. Zethus's flagship was taking heavy damage. His shields were gone. His weapons were at half capacity. 2 of his 5 ships were dead in space. 1 had been destroyed when its ammunition stores exploded. The last ship was trying to protect the flagship, but it was not enough. "Commander, we must retreat," his second officer said. The warrior's voice was desperate. Zethus stared at the tactical display. He had entered this battle confident. He had superior numbers. He had better armor. But the humans were winning. They were not just winning. They were dominating. "How?" Zethus whispered. "How are they doing this?" His intelligence officer pulled up combat analysis. "Sir, their ships are individually weaker than ours, but they fight as a perfect unit. Watch. The destroyer draws our fire while the frigate strikes from the side. The fighters harass us from every angle. The carrier coordinates everything. They're not fighting as 3 ships. They're fighting as 1 weapon with 3 parts." Zethus understood then. The Kareth Dominion conquered through individual strength and intimidation. Each Kareth captain commanded his own ship with total authority. They did not coordinate well because they did not trust each other, but humans were pack animals. They had evolved hunting in groups. They had survived by cooperating. Their military doctrine was built on thousands of years of tribal warfare, where the clan that worked together survived and the clan that fought alone died. Another explosion rocked Zethus's ship. His tactical display showed red across every system. He had no choice left. "Signal retreat to all ships," he said quietly. "We surrender." The human weapons stopped firing. The sudden silence was almost worse than the battle. Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication channel. "Kareth vessels, power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction." Zethus powered down his weapons. Around him, his bridge crew looked defeated. They had been warriors of the Dominion. They had been proud and strong. Now they were prisoners of a species they had thought was weak. Chen continued. "Kareth, Commander, you made 3 mistakes today. First, you assumed we were alone. We're never alone. We take care of our own. Second, you thought we were weak because we don't have claws or armor, but we've spent 10,000 years learning to kill things bigger and stronger than us. Third, and most important, you hurt our people." Chen's voice became cold as vacuum. "You hurt humans. And we remember. Now you're going to tell every species in this sector exactly what happens when someone does that." Zethus looked at his ruined ship and his defeated crew. He had learned a terrible lesson today. Humans were not prey. They were the most dangerous predators in the galaxy, disguised as merchants and miners and peaceful explorers. They were patient and friendly until you threatened their pack. Then they became monsters. The human Marines were boarding his ship now. Zethus could hear them moving through his corridors with military precision. He waited for whatever came next, knowing that his life and the lives of his crew depended on human mercy. He hoped they had some. Commander Zethus sat in the detention cell aboard the Retribution. The room was clean and well lit. He had expected a dark prison. Instead, the humans had given him a small room with a bed, a desk, and even a window showing the stars. His wounds had been treated by a human medical officer who worked with quiet efficiency. It was confusing. The Kareth did not treat prisoners this way. The door opened. Admiral Chen entered, followed by 2 Marines. Chen sat down across from Zethus. He placed a datapad on the table between them. "Commander Zethus, I'm going to explain some things to you. Pay attention. Your life and the lives of your crew depend on you understanding what I'm about to say." Zethus said nothing. He waited. Chen continued. "You see, you made a fundamental error in judgment. You looked at humans and saw soft skin. No claws, no natural armor, no venomous fangs. You assumed we were weak prey animals, but you didn't ask the important question." "What question?" Zethus asked quietly. "How did a species with no natural weapons become the dominant predator on a death world?" Chen tapped the datapad. A holographic image appeared above it. It showed a planet, Earth, blue and green and beautiful, but Chen zoomed in to show creatures. Large cats with teeth like knives, massive bears that weighed half a ton, pack-hunting wolves, venomous snakes, giant crocodiles. "This is where we come from, Commander. A world filled with things that wanted to eat us. We were slow compared to the cats. We were weak compared to the bears. We had no venom, no claws, no thick hide. By all logic, we should have gone extinct." Zethus looked at the images. He had seen death worlds before. Most species from such planets were heavily armored or incredibly strong. Humans were neither. "But we didn't die," Chen said. "We learned to make tools. We learned to throw stones and spears farther than any animal could strike. We learned to work together. A human alone might lose to a bear, but 10 humans with spears. The bear loses. Every time." Chen changed the image. It showed early humans hunting a massive elephant-like creature. Dozens of humans with simple spears working as a group, bringing down prey 20 times their size. We learned something that most predators never learn. We learned that the pack is stronger than the individual. We learned to trust each other with our lives. That became our greatest weapon. Zethus was beginning to understand. Your ships fight the same way. As a pack, exactly. And that's not even the most dangerous thing about us. Chen pulled up new images. These showed human history. Wars. Terrible, massive wars with millions of dead. Zethus saw primitive humans fighting with swords and spears. Then humans with guns. Then humans with tanks and aircraft. Then orbital weapons and nuclear fire. We spent 10,000 years fighting each other, Commander. We got very good at it. We learned strategy and tactics written in the blood of our ancestors. We learned how to organize millions of soldiers. We learned how to build weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. The images showed a mushroom cloud rising over a city. Zethus felt his blood run cold. The humans had split the atom and turned it into a weapon before they even left their homeworld. What kind of species does that? "We almost destroyed ourselves," Chen said quietly. "We came very close. But we learned from it. We learned that we're better together than apart. We formed a united government. We went to the stars not as conquerors, but as explorers. We wanted to be better than we were. But you're still warriors," Zethus said. "Yes, because the universe is dangerous. And because we learned another lesson from our history. The species that forgets how to fight eventually gets conquered by the species that remembers." Chen leaned forward. "Here's what you need to understand. We don't want to fight. We prefer peace and trade. We're friendly to species that are friendly to us. But when someone threatens our people, when someone attacks our ships, when someone tries to take from us by force, we respond with overwhelming violence. The Dominion will not accept this," Zethus said. "We are strong. We control 40 systems. The Dominion will accept it or face war with Earth. And let me be very clear about what that means." Chen pulled up fleet statistics. Zethus's eyes widened as he saw the numbers. Earth had hundreds of warships, thousands of fighters, weapons systems that made the Kareth arsenal look primitive, and behind all of that, billions of humans on dozens of worlds. If the Dominion declares war on humanity, we will not fight to conquer you. We'll fight to defend ourselves and our allies, but we will not stop until every Kareth warship is destroyed or surrendered. We don't lose wars, Commander. We might lose battles, but we don't lose wars. Do you know why? Zethus shook his head. Because we're stubborn. We're persistence hunters. Our ancestors used to chase prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. We don't give up, ever. We will keep coming, keep fighting, keep adapting until we win. It's built into our DNA. Zethus thought about the crew of the Perseverance, 12 civilians who had fought 30 trained warriors to a standstill. They had no military training, no proper weapons. But they had fought because they were protecting each other. They had not surrendered even when it seemed hopeless. What happens now? Zethus asked. Now I give you a choice. You and your surviving crew can return to the Dominion. We'll repair your ships just enough to get you home. You'll tell your leaders exactly what happened here. You'll tell them that humans are not prey. You'll tell them that if they leave us alone, we'll leave them alone. But if they attack us again, we'll respond with overwhelming force. And if I refuse? Then you'll stay here as prisoners of war until the Dominion agrees to negotiations. Your crew will be treated well according to galactic conventions, but you'll miss your chance to warn your people about us. Zethus considered his options. His pride was wounded. His ships were destroyed. His warriors were defeated. But he was alive. His crew was alive. The humans could have killed them all, but they had chosen mercy. That was perhaps the most frightening thing. The humans had the power to destroy and the wisdom to choose when not to use it. That made them more dangerous than any species the Kareth had ever encountered. I will return to the Dominion, Zethus said. I will tell them what you want me to tell them. Good, one more thing. Chen pulled up a final image. It showed human soldiers from different eras. Warriors from ancient Earth in armor, soldiers from the World Wars, modern space marines. All of them had the same look in their eyes, determination, loyalty, the will to protect their own at any cost. Look at these faces, Commander. This is what you're dealing with. We're not monsters. We're not evil. But we're the species that survived the impossible. We're the species that turned our weakness into strength. We're the species that weaponized friendship. Zethus looked at the images and understood. Humans were dangerous not because they were aggressive, but because they cared about each other so deeply that they would do anything to protect their pack. That made them unpredictable. That made them unstoppable. Chen stood up. Your ships will be ready in 2 days. Go home, Commander. Tell your people about us. Make sure they understand that we want peace, but we're ready for war. As Chen left the cell, Zethus sat alone with his thoughts. He had begun this day as a proud warrior of a mighty empire. He would end it as a messenger of warning. The humans had given him a gift even though he had attacked them. They had given him knowledge. Now he just hoped the Dominion would be wise enough to listen. 3 months had passed since the incident. Commander Zethus stood before the Dominion Council in the Great Hall on the Kareth homeworld. 12 High Lords sat in their seats of power, looking down at him with expressions that ranged from anger to curiosity. Zethus had given his report. He had shown them the battle recordings. He had explained everything about the humans. Now the council deliberated his words. High Lord Kravik spoke first. So you are telling us that one cargo ship, crewed by civilians, held off 30 of our warriors long enough for their military to arrive? Yes, High Lord. The humans fought using improvised weapons and traps. They knew their ship better than our warriors did. They used that advantage. And 3 human warships defeated 5 of ours? Yes, High Lord. Their ships fight as a coordinated unit. Their weapons are more advanced than we estimated. Their crews can endure combat maneuvers that would incapacitate our pilots. Another council member, High Lady Sethrin, leaned forward. What do you recommend, Commander? Zethus took a breath. I recommend we avoid conflict with humanity. They want peace and trade. They're willing to share space. But if we attack them again, they will respond with overwhelming force. I saw their fleet records. They have the military capacity to destroy us. The council chamber filled with angry muttering. The Kareth had ruled their region of space for 200 years through strength and intimidation. The idea of backing down to a newcomer species was hard to accept, but High Lord Kravix was old and wise. He had led the Dominion through 3 major wars. He understood when to fight and when to negotiate. The vote is called, he announced. All those in favor of establishing peaceful trade relations with humanity and avoiding military conflict? 8 hands rose. It was enough. The vote passes. We will leave human shipping lanes alone. We will establish diplomatic contact. Commander Zethus, you will lead the diplomatic mission. Zethus bowed. He had expected punishment for losing his ships. Instead, he was being given a chance to prevent a war. Perhaps the Dominion was wiser than he thought. Far across the galaxy, the Perseverance returned to service. The ship had been fully repaired and upgraded. Earth Navy engineers had installed new engines and better shields as a reward for the crew's bravery. Captain Elena Vasquez walked through the corridors checking the new systems. "Captain," Marcus called from the bridge, "we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Chen." Elena smiled. She had met Chen several times during the repairs. He was a good man who understood what it meant to serve in space. Chen's face appeared on the screen. "Captain Vasquez, I wanted to inform you that the Kareth Dominion has requested peaceful diplomatic relations. They've officially recognized all human trade routes. You won't have any more trouble from them." "That's excellent news, Admiral. It's thanks to you and your crew. You showed them that humans don't give up. You bought enough time for us to arrive. The Navy is awarding you and your entire crew the Star of Valor for your actions." Elena felt pride warm her chest. "We just did what anyone would do, sir. We protected each other. That's what makes us human, Captain. Safe travels." The transmission ended. Elena looked at her crew on the bridge. They had been through hell together. They had fought impossible odds and survived. They were more than a crew now. They were family. "All right, everyone, let's get back to work. We have minerals to mine and money to make." Her crew laughed and returned to their stations. Life went on. In another part of the galaxy, the Varaxian Empire watched humanity with growing interest. They were a militaristic species that had conquered 30 systems through force. They had been considering expanding into human territory. Commander Threll of the Varaxian fleet studied the reports about the Perseverance incident. His intelligence officers had obtained the battle recordings from Kareth sources. He watched the footage of the human ships moving with impossible precision. He saw the civilians fighting like cornered predators. He read about Earth's history of warfare and innovation. One of his subordinates approached. "Commander, should we proceed with plans to test human defenses?" Thrall was silent for a long moment. Then he shut off the display. "No. We find other territory to expand into. The humans are not worth the cost." "But sir, they're just one species. We have superior numbers." Thrall looked at his subordinate with tired eyes. "Superior numbers mean nothing if the enemy refuses to lose. The humans have something we don't. They have loyalty that goes beyond logic. A human soldier will die to protect another human, even a stranger. They don't fight for territory or resources. They fight for each other. That makes them more dangerous than any weapon. Surely we could defeat them in a prolonged war. Perhaps, but it would cost us everything. Look at their history. They've fought wars that lasted years, sometimes decades. They sacrificed millions of their own people to defend their principles. If we attacked them, they wouldn't surrender until we were destroyed or they were extinct. Neither option is acceptable." Thrall pulled up a star map and highlighted sectors far from human space. "We expand here instead. There are plenty of systems to conquer that won't fight back with such ferocity." The subordinate bowed and left. Thrall remained alone, staring at the star map. He had fought many battles and conquered many species, but he knew his limitations. The humans were something different. Something that triggered an ancient instinct in his warrior's brain that said, "Do not attack this prey." Across the galaxy, the word was spreading. Merchant ships carried stories of the Perseverance. Diplomatic channels buzzed with reports of human military capability. Species that had considered testing humanity's borders quietly changed their plans. The galaxy was learning a lesson that Earth's predators had learned millions of years ago. Humans looked weak and soft, but they were persistence hunters who never gave up. They were social pack animals who protected their own with terrifying dedication. They were tool users who could turn anything into a weapon. Most importantly, they were a species that had survived 10,000 years of fighting themselves. They had climbed from caves to starships through stubbornness, creativity, and cooperation. They had split the atom and reached for the stars. They had learned to turn their greatest weakness, their soft, fragile bodies, into their greatest strength by working together. On Earth, life continued as normal. Billions of humans went about their daily lives, unaware that their reputation was spreading across the stars. They were teachers and doctors, miners and pilots, soldiers and scientists. They laughed and loved, argued and reconciled. They were just people trying to live their lives. But when one of their own called for help, they answered. Always. Captain Vasquez stood on the bridge of the Perseverance as it jumped to hyperspace. Through the window, the stars stretched into lines of light. Somewhere out there, other species were learning to respect humanity. Other ships were traveling safely because of what her crew had done. She thought about Admiral Chen's words. Humans were the species that weaponized friendship. It was a strange way to describe them, but it was true. Their greatest weapon was not their ships or their guns. It was their refusal to leave anyone behind. It was their willingness to fight for each other against impossible odds. The Kareth had learned this lesson the hard way. They had targeted a lone human ship and knew instantly they had gone too far, not because the ship was powerful, but because it was never truly alone. Behind every human was the weight of their entire species, ready to defend and protect. That was the real message spreading across the galaxy. Humans were not conquerors. They were not a warlike species. But they were a species that protected its own with absolute determination. Attack one human and you attack all of them. It was a simple message, but it carried weight. The galaxy was vast and filled with dangers, but there were now 12 humans who had shown that even against impossible odds, even facing certain death, humans would fight back and they would never, ever surrender. The Perseverance jumped to its next destination, carrying its crew safely through the stars. Behind them, the legend grew. The story of the cargo ship that fought back. The story of civilians who became warriors. The story that reminded the galaxy why humanity had survived against all odds. They were pack animals. They were persistence hunters. They were friends who became family. They were human. And that was enough.